Hi everyone, welcome to another session about Data Tech Talk. And today I have a very special guest with me all the way from Sydney. Hi Raj, how are you doing?
Hey, yeah, good,
Hey.
thanks. Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me online today for a quick chat. I'm doing well and just, still in Bangladesh, kind of trying to ride out the pandemic a little bit.
Yeah,
But
we all are, right?
yeah, we are. But just for our audience today, I will actually let you introduce yourself and your work and how you actually got there.
Cool. So my name is Raj Sharif. What I do is technical recruitment, specifically in the data science and analytics space here in Sydney. My journey, I think, in recruitment is very similar to a lot of other recruiters in the fact that it was one of those things I fell into. My original background was in hospitality, where I used to look after venues in the UK. But it got to a point where I was just like, I needed something a bit more. I needed to do more for the community. I felt like there was a bigger calling for me. And it just so happened that a client of mine owned a recruitment business, which so happened to be in IT. Um, he heard that I wanted to get out of my current job and wanted something different. So we went for a coffee, and from that, initial chat and opportunity, I guess that's when I got into recruitment, and then that journey has led me to here in Sydney. A few years later. So now I'm currently looking after that data science analytics space, working with companies like Atlassian, various big four banks, but also trying to give as much, I guess, into the community, into the tech community as well in my spare time.
That's awesome. It's really cool. And you mentioned about getting into the tech communities in your spare time. Can you elaborate on that? What kind of tech communities?
100%. So even in the UK, one of the things that I did was go to a lot of meetups, tech meetups, and eventually started hosting my own. I've brought that over here to Sydney, and the company that I work for, so Preacta Recruitment, we are quite well known in the tech meetup space. So we cover meetups from engineering, C Sharp, C++, Java, all the way into the data science and the data space. So one of the big things that I did before COVID with one of my colleagues, Jeremy, who we work in the the data space together, we hosted various different webinars, which you were actually a part of. The last one before COVID, I guess, the data governance one. Um, but now in I guess in COVID, it's more like webinars as opposed to meetups and conferences and things like that. So yeah, I've been doing that for a few years now, and it's something I'm quite passionate about.
That's amazing. So we're looking forward to more of those. Hopefully, we can follow you on LinkedIn and get a news about all those webinars and meetups as well.
100%.
Now, in your experience, like in the recent months, how have you seen different kinds of companies navigate the situation, whether it's in terms of resourcing, whether it's in terms of recruitment? How have you seen the companies navigate?
So I guess the initial shock for a lot of companies, small and large, was the whole moving a business to working from home. And with that came its own problems in regards to how do we remotely onboard, for example, working in the recruitment space. How do we shift all our staff to working from home with the right equipment, with the right security? So that was the first couple of weeks where some companies were actually flourishing, and what I did was actually communicate with those companies. And as a company, Preacta, what we did as well is understand how they've been doing it well. Maybe they've already had work from home situations put into place, work from home capabilities, and then sharing that into the community in regards to, hey, look, I've heard you as a company are struggling, or you as a HR team are struggling. Here's some ideas on how you could maybe go through this. Now, with that going forward, and the biggest thing was for a recruitment consultant is the freezing of jobs, the freezing of hiring. So a lot of businesses stopped hiring across the board, and not just in IT, but across the whole economy, right? Luckily, being in the IT space, we were one of those businesses that were not as affected as, say, other spaces. So, a couple of maybe like another month and a half into it, we started to see that there were people either not able to move out of their current jobs into something new that they wanted. People, one of the worst things was actually people that are already in the interview process that might have handed their notice letters in, saying that they can't go to a job, and then them being in limbo. That was quite a difficult phase. And look, yeah, it's one of those situations where no one knew really what to do with it. No one knew how to deal with it, especially in the recruitment space. A lot of recruiters lost their jobs because of it. When the work dries up, it's a commission-based type of role. A lot of internal HR also unfortunately lost their jobs in the community, in the space, because if you look at the data from the likes of LinkedIn, Seek, who I've been working quite closely with, one of the biggest affected areas after hospitality, which was the most affected, was HR and recruitment. So it's been a bit of a crazy whirlwind ride for sure. Now, in regards to the data space, what I've noticed as well, is data science initially, which is always been looked at as an investment piece, a long-term investment piece. At the initial 2-month period, maybe 1-month period, the investment kind of froze on it, or the projects were frozen on it, or any new exploratory projects were frozen. And what they kind of shifted, the data leaders have shifted in doing, is looking at focusing more on the analysis side and more on the engineering side, as to, look, we've got so much data coming in, let's build new warehouses. We've got so much data coming in, let's analyze this data and really understand and interpret it, how we can identify and look at the short-term wins as opposed to long-term investments. That's been the main thing across my industry, as recruitment, and the other industry being data and data science. Yeah, it's been a crazy one.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine. Like, I've heard almost the same things that you actually mentioned, in terms of the focus shifting a little bit from, you know, just project based to more, how can I find meaning from the data? How can I find the value from the data that I already hold? So yeah, that's actually aligned with what I've seen as well. And in terms of, people who have lost their jobs, and unfortunately people who have been laid off, do you have any advice on what they can do in this situation where companies are, have frozen certain aspects of their projects, and obviously they have laid off a certain percentage of their workforce as well? What advice do you have for them?
I'm an optimist, and I see us getting to a better place over the next 6 months, as opposed to some other people saying it'll take a lot longer. I mean, look, it will take a lot longer to recover from this for sure. But my advice would be, if you're out of work, really, first of all, leverage off your network. If you haven't built a network, start building one. This is the best time ever to build a network. People are in front of their computer screens. People are actively using LinkedIn on a day-to-day basis. And people are sitting at home and are perhaps maybe bored or feel a bit disconnected. This is the time where you can reach out to them, say, hey, we used to work together, for example, or hey, your company looks amazing to me. Let's connect, let's talk. I think a lot of people can shy away from the whole networking piece, especially with LinkedIn. It's not like Facebook or Instagram where you can, you just don't add random people. It's the same as going to a meetup and tapping someone on their shoulder and saying, hey, what's your name? What do you do? And then from that point onwards, leveraging off the network that you've created, or the one that you're building, in finding those opportunities. It's now a time where you can't expect things to come your way, no matter how good you are. You have to really put the work in. Now, for example, as a data scientist, there's parts of your job where you're dealing with various different stakeholders, maybe even doing pre-sales in a sense. This is an opportunity where you have to sell yourself more than ever, and you can do this by, perhaps, a couple of the advices that I've been putting out is making a LinkedIn video where you present yourself for 5 minutes to say, this is who I am, this is what I do. It's adding that personal touch, so that a hiring manager that could be hiring could go onto your LinkedIn and go, wow, okay, this is an extra depth. I understand this person more, and this person could fit, not just technically, but culturally, into my company, like so and so. So it's just about being really proactive to find those opportunities, market mapping, looking at where the jobs are, really collecting that data and making sure that you're covering all aspects. But yeah, network, network, network. You really got to do that to get your name out there.
And that's some excellent advice. No, I totally agree with you as well. Like one of the things that I try to live by and in terms of motto in life is if you never ask, you'll never know. So you have
Exactly.
to ask, you have to be proactive and reach out to your network. So great advice there. So in terms of what you have seen in the data science and analytics space, how has it changed over the last few years? What is the trend? What are the type of trends you're seeing?
So now focusing on Sydney, because Sydney, well, Australia is a bit different to the rest of the world, where we'll find that data science is a lot more advanced and the data journey is a lot more advanced in the US and in the Europe and such. What I've noticed in Sydney is that people are investing more and more into data science as a whole before COVID, but they're also understanding what a true data scientist is. It's having that kind of there's a Venn diagram that a lot of data scientists see, which is a mix. What it is a business, technology, and mathematics, right? But what you'll find is there's a lot of potential data scientists in Sydney that are more like the BI focus or more business intelligence because the businesses haven't actually truly invested in data science, right? What we're noticing now is that they are pushing in more investments into data sciences. There are businesses that are actually understanding the true value of data. So investing into teams and giving them the length of projects a year or 2 years. Um, that's what it's been like for the last couple of years in the Sydney market from what I'm seeing. But it's changed a little bit over the last coming months, I guess, because of COVID, right? But looking at the trends that I've been focusing on, what I've noticed, and this is from speaking to various leaders across the Sydney market, is that actually where we initially thought the whole idea of investing into data science is going to be halted for a little while, that isn't the case. They're actually still going ahead with it, which is a good thing, which is a great thing actually, because that shows that they are truly understanding the value of data. They are understanding what a commodity data is, similar to the likes of obviously the US and Europe and Asia as well that have already grasped that concept and are investing heavily. So that's what I've been seeing over the last couple of years.
Yeah, thanks for that. No, having worked in Europe, America, and Australia, I do see kind of like the difference in how data leaders manage different projects or, invest in analytics versus be concerned more about regulations. So in Europe, for example, and America, they're more concerned about regulations and the effects of it. What I've seen
Absolutely.
also in Australia is what you mentioned about data commodity and using that data and especially because it's a very consumer driven market in Australia, so all the data around your customer, your consumer, how can you leverage that as well? So yeah, great observations. So this is one question I ask all my interviewees basically. Within this pandemic situation, how have you contributed to the data world? Something that's not related directly maybe to your business, but more to your network, more to your community of data people, data scientists, analysts, and so on.
I mean, I'd like to think I've been contributing since I got into recruitment into the data space, especially with the meetups that I run. But sitting at home, I have been pushing out a lot of content around on my LinkedIn around how to interview, how to win an interview, how to appropriately use LinkedIn, how to succeed on LinkedIn, how to create the best type of CV. And this is all stuff that I'm quite passionate about. I've always been quite passionate about just giving whatever advice I can gain into the wider community, because even if it helps a single person, then that makes me happy. So I've been really focusing on that lately. The webinars that I've been doing as well, again, that's directly for the data community, the data science community and analytics, as well as even the back end, the data engineering community. And this is, again, it's just, I'm getting all this information left, right, and center because of the job that I do. I speak to a lot of leaders. I connect with a lot of individuals but there's a lot of questions that you can't just type into Google and get the answer to. And a lot of people are sitting there and perhaps subconsciously thinking about it, whether it's a leader, whether it's an engineer, whether it's a scientist. So the idea is, if I can get that information and push it out to the market, push it out to the community, then brilliant. That's it. So yeah, as I've been spending a lot of time on surveys, I've been spending a lot of time on webinars. So I'm hoping I've been giving back to the community, but I might be wrong. I don't know.
No, that's excellent. That's actually, one of the ways a lot of people are contributing, because, we are kind of forced to be in our homes, and we're forced to spend more time in front of the computer. So there's only so much you can do without face-to-face interactions, for example, or physical interactions in terms of the space.
Absolutely.
But yeah, well, Raj, thank you so much for all your time and all your advice. Those are some really great insights, and I hope, for the audience who are watching, please feel free to reach out either to myself or to Raj if you have any questions. I'm sure we'll be more than happy to answer them for you as well.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, anything else you wanted to add, Raj, or?
No, I think what you're doing is amazing. I think, yeah, like just on the back of what you said, if there is any sort of, if you want to understand how to get into the data science industry, for example, if you're an engineer or an analyst or anything like that, go onto my LinkedIn. There's so much content and videos that I put up there that should hopefully give you the right answers. But if you can't find the answers, just reach out and I'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you so much, Russ. Thanks for your time today.
No, thank you, Shama. All the best. And yeah, speak soon.
Please speak soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye.